Soccer Parent Lifestyle Magazine is proud to welcome you to Behind the Whistle, insights into the game from a different perspective, presented by Two Footed Solutions. I'm your host, Austin. Today's topic is of national significance and one that I am very, very passionate about, surrounding the current referee shortage and how youth soccer leagues across the nation face an uncertain future without enough referees. My special guest today is a 30-year veteran of the youth soccer industry and a very influential figure in the Southern California market, Mr. Bob Turner. Welcome to Behind the Whistle, Bob. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you, Austin?
Not too shabby. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy that you could be joining us today. First, share with the audience what exactly you do. How do you impact? What market do you impact? How do you fit into this whole youth soccer industry?
Today, I'm the executive director for SoCal Soccer League. We have about 4,000 competitive teams, over 100,000 players. I have been in the market for over 30 years. Before this, the Southern California market, I was in the San Diego market as the president, vice president, a little bit of everything on the board for Presidio for over 30 years. So I think what we do, we impact by getting players on the field and giving families the opportunity to commingle and be part of something pretty big when you look at a sideline and you see all the parents and grandparents and siblings and such on the field. It's much bigger than just the game, I've learned.
Love that. Yeah, I can hear your passion too. Flows through your voice, flows through your pores. So I love to hear that. Now, coming from the referee perspective, I see the referee shortage problem being twofold, but I want to hear it from you, right? Coming from the executive director at SoCal, please explain to the audience what's causing this referee shortage issue.
Ooh, that's multifaceted, I would say. This referee issue has been going on forever. The lack of referees has been going on for a long time. The game is outgrown. There's two things you need to be able to game soccer. You need fields, which are limited, and you need referees, which are limited. We're getting the players at the highest numbers we've ever had. They continue to grow, but the number of fields in certain areas aren't growing. So that makes it tough for space for these kids to be able to play. And also the referees. If you don't have a referee, it's very difficult to have a game. So this started pre-COVID. We were at a shortage, positively trying to figure out how to develop more. I'm talking about Southern California, but this is a national, nationwide, maybe even countrywide. I don't know. I mean, worldwide. So this is here for San Diego or Southern California and San Diego. I can speak to that because I would consider maybe even an expert in the field, having done it for so long. I don't think we do a good enough job, being the clubs, at going out and getting their kids to play. I know you're a referee and your sister's a referee and all these other referees are out there. I don't think they do a good enough job to get these kids to follow through, not only in refereeing, but coaching. These kids end up, they age out and then they kind of just move on. I think that clubs could do a better job of recruiting these referees at a young age. And then also when they age out, now you have coaches and referees, and they should continue in the game to help this game grow, because for most of you, it did a lot for you. Now it's time somewhat to give back, I would say. The good thing about giving back in this is, as you know, you can make a lot of money. I don't think the kids realize, because I don't think, again, the clubs, or we probably don't do a good enough job of letting them know you don't have to flip burgers. You don't have to get these other jobs. You can go to college. You can go to high school. You can be, in some cases, in upper middle school, and you can start reffing, and you can make a decent amount of money doing something that you love anyway, being on the soccer fields. As you can attest, it makes you a better player also. So I think selfishly, these clubs should do it, because it'll encapsulate, it'll kind of do a full circle for their players, to become better players by learning how to be a referee in that aspect of the game. They'll learn a lot about the game, getting them into some coaching stuff, starting in the rec, developing them as coaches. They're going to become better players. They positively are. So I think we need to do a better job at that for sure. And then the other thing is, once we do get them in, we don't train them well enough. You go out, you take your course. Theoretically, like when you took yours, it ended on a Sunday at 3. You could have been reffing at 4. At 4 o'clock, it ended at 3 o'clock. You could have been reffing at 4 o'clock without much training. So I think we need to, once we get these kids, people through the courses, we need to do a much better job of mentoring them and training them on the field training. And I don't think any of the associations do a good enough job in that at all. They just, okay, now we have referees and we can assign them. And then obviously the big elephant in the room is the parent behavior, coaches' behavior, sometimes player behavior, but it's really the parent behavior. The parent behavior, we've had many kids that have refed first game they get yelled at, parents are abusive, they quit. We've had kids drop the flag and cry and go home. And we're talking young kids, 13, 14, 15. We've got to try to we're trying, I can tell you, to do a better job. We used to clear a sideline. One parent gets kicked out, everybody's suspended for the next week. We're trying to do a better job and try to impress upon these parents, that they're ruining the game, not only for their own kids, but certainly from the referee standpoint, because we're losing a lot of referees, or a lot of referees, people like, hell no, I'm not going to ref. I see what these referees are, even my own sideline is putting them through every day, and I'm not going to have my kid go through that. And that's something we have to manage. It's just too important.
Yeah. Very true and well said. It's interesting. I've obviously been doing this for a long time, refereeing 20 plus years. I've been subjected to a lot of parental coach player abuse, and I've also seen a lot of referees quit on the spot due to that very same abuse. But one point that you mentioned is very interesting is the clubs acting as an incubator, not just for referees, but also for coaches. I mean, in every other industry on this planet, you have incubator programs that feed future employees into that type of line of work or that industry. And the clubs, there's 4,000 in SoCal alone. Talk about scaling that across the country, across the state, across cities. You've got a lot of clubs that could solve this very same referee shortage problem. Now, talk to me a little bit about what is the potential outcome if the referee shortage problem isn't solved, right? We're talking about how the pain is being caused. What is the potential outcome if the solutions aren't created and the problem isn't solved?
Well, what we're seeing right now is one referee on games, two referees on games. You all of a sudden, you got to try to get the games played. So you do whatever you can. So you're ending up with 77s having to be refed by coaches in some cases or parents. The 9v9s getting one referee. And in some occasions, it's getting a little bit better because we're increasing our numbers. I would say in this past year, we're trying to really get as many referee courses as we can. Is you're seeing, one referee on the 11v11 games. And I don't think anybody can think that an 11v11 at a U19 game with one referee, boys game with one referee is a good thing. You're asking for trouble. So ultimately, that's what it's going to come to. You're going to still try to get the games in. People are going to complain, why don't we have three referees? And I say, well, would you like to ref? We can get you a uniform, we can get you a course, and would you get out there? We don't have enough referees. And part of the reason is the behavior that you're showing at some cases on the sidelines. I'm on the sidelines every weekend pretty much. So and then ultimately after that happens, when we get down to that, like I said, the 77s in some cases weren't getting any we're having no referees. Pretty soon you're not going to have enough referees to even do one per game, and you're going to end up having to cancel, delay, reschedule games. It's happening now in some degrees because there's not enough referees. So this is a huge effort, and I hear it from again, this is a national effort for sure. In all the United States. I hear it from other areas, and they're having the same issue. I thought it was really more us because we have a lot more games, a lot more players than most other states will say. And then I hear that and they're having the same issues, same problems. So I don't think US soccer, to be honest with you, does a good enough job, excuse me, at recognizing or doing anything about this. I don't think they do a good enough job on the youth soccer. I think they spend more time worrying about World Cups and this national stuff instead of saying, wait a second, where are we going to build from? Where are we building from? We better figure out how to get more people on there to help our youth at the youngest age and building up and teaching people how to run rec programs and developing these youth clubs and some of the training and such. So if we don't, obviously we're not developing our kids well enough, and US soccer doesn't give a darn pretty much about, to me anyway, about the referee program for sure.
Yeah, well said. Ultimately, this is a problem that's going to impact at the grassroots, but trickle all the way up from a quality of play standpoint, from a quality of development. I mean, ultimately, the grassroots and the youth game is the future of what we are able to contribute at the national level, at the World Cup level, so on and so forth. And if we're not getting referees, or it's one referee per game, or parent referees, parent coaches, so on and so forth, it's just going to hurt what is already lacking in terms of quality at that top down. So outside of the incubator at the club level approach, how do we solve the referee shortage problem? Any ideas?
Well, I think again, like I said, US soccer could get more involved in this and understand that this is a major problem, and let's see if we can maybe start developing some of these programs, work with the people that are out, the grassroots people, and what they can do to help develop it and do a better job of even marketing it. I'm sure that they do something marketing wise for referees. I would assume. I don't know. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but they actually absolutely should. They should do a much better job of getting to the people, getting to the parents, getting to coaches. Coaches should, it would be a good supplement for their income for them to be refereeing, and some do refereeing some of these games. They know the game the best. Try to stay out of your own club so you don't have that looking like it's some type of a favoritism type of thing. But I just think that they're not doing a good enough job. We should do a much better job everywhere, all of us. This is, us too. We need to do a better job of trying to develop and get more referees out there. And some of it's just an awareness. I think if people, again, knew how much their little 14 or 15-year-old son or daughter could make by refereeing a Saturday and a Sunday, I think it would go a long way to getting them on the field. Again, the abuse that they're taking, a lot of parents don't want to do it because they don't want to subject their kids to that abuse. And you can't really, you can't blame them. So we need to stop that. But we need to do a better job of definitely getting out there and developing it.
Love that. Top down, bottom up, meet in the middle, solve the pain. Well said. So bring it a little bit closer to home for you there in the SoCal market. What are you doing specifically to solve the referee shortage pain?
Well, we're putting on courses. We do a pretty good job down here putting on referee courses as much as we can, and we get quite a few people coming through. From what I understand, we had the highest in the country number of courses that we put on last year. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to get our referee association, our SRA, not referee association, but the overall association is kind of a debacle here as it is. So the hope is that once we can get that straightened out, we can even do a better job. I think we need to try to get our clubs and I think there should be people, companies, and organizations that are getting behind this. I think we're missing the boat on female referees, female coaches. We have over the years tried to develop some women's administrative meetings and such to try to do it, but we really should concentrate on getting more female coaches and more female referees. The young girls are coming up, the numbers are growing like crazy, and we just don't have enough. We haven't spent enough time or energy or money on that. And I believe that there should be some backing. There should be people demanding that we do this. I believe anyway. I had, two daughters, and I fought one coaches, one referees. She's got her coaching license, just hasn't picked it up yet. But I think that we could build that program and get these girls. These girls have to keep coming. These female, we need female coaches. Enough is enough. We need female referees. We need more and more. And there should be organizations, like I said, and maybe companies that come in and support this and figure out a way to get to the masses, to get these players, these young ladies out there to do this. I mean, it's for their own good. And I believe at a young age, for sure, it's a better to have a female coach on a female team. Um, and so we have to grow that for sure.
Love that. Yeah, there's a stark rise in popularity of the NWSL. Obviously, as you mentioned, you have the data behind the demographics there in the SoCal League, and it's so interesting to hear you say that there, is a growing need, if you will, for more female referees, more female coaches, and I completely agree with that, especially as more and more and more and more are playing the game and more are following the game outside of the field, i.e., their favorite player on the NWSL World Cup, so on and so forth. And then another aspect of that is there's so many companies who are involved at the referee level, whether it be apparel, technology, you name it. There are so many players in the space, and there is no concentrated, coordinated effort in order to solve some of these pain points. So I think that's something that we at Two Footed Solutions should take a proactive approach in terms of bringing everybody together, all the players at B, getting them at the same table and saying, okay, let's find a true north and let's see how we can solve some of these pains. I love that. Now, bring it back to the SoCal market. Talk to me about the impact your efforts have made, right? You had talked about this problem has been going on since pre-COVID. COVID obviously took a hit with the numbers wise. You've been working hard and tirelessly with the individual referee associations. What is the impact of those efforts?
Um, Frustrating at times. I think we're going to. I think we're trying. I think we need to do a better job. I think there needs to be support. I think what's happening in a lot of cases, like everything in life, you spend all of your time just taking care of the business at hand. We don't really have time because we have State Cup this weekend. We don't have time to do some of this other stuff. Our season now is pretty much year round. When we first started this, it was like a 3-month season or 4-month season. It's a year round. Soccer is year round, as most people know, mostly competitive soccer. And so I think we need to get some committees together and say, okay, how can we attack this? What can we do? And again, for Southern California is a little bit easier because we can control some of that. But I think this, again, like I said, it's a nationwide thing. I think U.S. Soccer needs to pull their head out and realize that this is a major problem. And if they don't solve that problem, they're not going to get the next Pulisic. They're not going to get these players because they're not spending enough time and energy developing the youth side of soccer. They're more worried about the higher level. So I think they need to come in and put some support and figure out that the referees are a major part of this. Without referees, like I said, you really can't play. It probably should put some effort into fields. Without fields, you can't play. Some people just play out in the blacktop, and that's fine, but that's not what our expectation is through this. Nothing against that. I think you develop as a player, but through what we do from a gaming and a league standpoint is get people on these fields and try to make them as good as possible from a safety standpoint and a structural standpoint. So I think we need to do a much better job at that for sure.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Well said. Yeah, for all you parents, all you coaches, all you potential players out there, in most parts around the world, or at least here in the country, this is a year-round sport. So you have year-round opportunity to earn some pretty darn good money being out there doing something that you love, learning the game from that different perspective, from the different angle. It'll make you a better player. It'll make you a better coach. It'll make you a better overall shepherd of the game, no matter where the game takes you in life. So Bob, we've talked about the pain. We've talked about the potential outcome of the pain isn't being solved. We talked about some solutions that you've implemented. What else? Anything else that you want to add to the conversation before we part for today?
Not really. I just think we need to. I think this is a good segment. Hopefully, this gets out to as many people as possible. People can recognize how big of an issue this really is, and it needs to be solved for the good of the game. If you want to continue this game at the level that I think we expect to, we really need to take care of it. And there's a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, like I said, out there that should be jumping on board to say, what can we do about this? There's too many. It's a diverse issue. So there's so many different, to me, people that should be interested in doing this if they really knew what what the problem is and what the results could be. The results are not very good if we don't solve this problem.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you joining us today on the Soccer Parent Lifestyle Magazine. Thank you for your time.
Okay, have a great day.